أنا اسمي كلير وأنا طالبة في برنامج Global Conflict و Human Security في جامعة New Hampshire. My name's Claire FitzMorris. I grew up in the Lakes region of New Hampshire and I went to UNH, and since then I've called the Seacoast area home. So I came into UNH undecided, actually. I was really young when I started. I came at 16, so I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I was undeclared for about 2 years. And in my sophomore year, I knew I wanted to get into international affairs, but it's only offered as a dual major, so I was kind of trying to figure out something that would match nicely with that. So I ended up declaring linguistics as my primary major, international affairs as a dual major. And then after I studied abroad in Spain, I kind of accidentally got a Spanish major, just because I'd taken so many Spanish classes. The long story short, I ended up with linguistics, international affairs, and Spanish majors, and a Middle Eastern studies minor. So I started studying Arabic my sophomore year at UNH. I studied abroad in Granada, Spain in the south my junior year, and so I continued studying Arabic. I was really interested in the Middle East and North Africa, and I really wanted to travel there. And so I decided to take a long weekend trip to Morocco when my sister had come from the States to visit me in Spain. And so we went to Morocco together just for a few days. And basically it was the first time that I kind of truly experienced culture shock, because Spain and Spanish culture are very similar to US and American culture. And the language wasn't very different. I had studied Spanish for years at this point, so I was able to get by. But when I went to Morocco, I had been studying a totally different language, basically from the Moroccan dialect of Arabic. And so I went there, people were speaking to me in French. People were like really, really generous and very nice, but it was a little bit overwhelming to me, the hospitality that Moroccan people tend to kind of exhibit. And so that was the excursion that changed it all. So I was like, what is going on here? I definitely need to come back. After graduating from UNH, I joined the Peace Corps in Morocco. I was a youth development volunteer for about 2.5 years. And when I finished with Peace Corps, I decided to stay in Morocco and just move to a bigger city. So I decided to start teaching English. So I got my English teaching certificate, moved to a bigger city. And I did that for about a year. And that's when I decided to apply for the Global Conflict Human Security Studies program. I actually found it through the Coverdell Fellowship website, which is part of Peace Corps. They offer fellowships for returned volunteers to save quite a bit of money and attend a program in their field. And so I kind of applied on a whim and I got accepted. And since then I realized it's really been a godsend, because it's opened me up to all of these different avenues that I otherwise think I would have been closed off to. And I kind of became interested in it through discovering what the program was about and seeing the possibilities, seeing what alumni have done, and kind of figuring out as I went along some of the opportunities that I might be able to take advantage of. Youth development. So that could be like life skills and leadership workshops. It could be hiking camps, tons of different things, sports camps. But in Morocco specifically, it ends up looking like English teaching pretty much for a majority of the volunteers. So I actually, I worked in a couple of different sites. My first site, I was the first volunteer that they'd ever had from Peace Corps. So I just kind of showed up and was just this American person that arrived and like barely spoke Arabic, and everyone didn't really know what to do with me. And so they all kind of saw me and said, "Oh, you speak English, teach us English." And I was like, okay. So I didn't really have a ton of training. Peace Corps gave us like minimal English language teaching training. But I kind of used that and just talked to people, just kind of networked in my town to try to figure out what they needed. And then I ended up having to move, so I didn't really do that much other than English teaching in that town. But after I moved, I ended up in a bigger town that had lots of experience with Peace Corps volunteers, and so I kind of picked up on programs that they were already working on. So again, lots of English teaching, but some youth center-based programs. So like one of the volunteers that was there just before me had gotten a grant from Peace Corps to build this outdoor gym with a bunch of different metal and wooden equipment. So I kind of helped to set that up, like physically, and worked with the people at the youth center kind of as like a translator in a way. One of the big accomplishments, I think, was this summer camp that we did, also for English teaching. So the long story short, again, is yes, a lot of it was just English teaching. But this summer camp was really cool because Peace Corps had partnered with the Moroccan Ministry of Youth and Sports for decades at this point to put on this summer camp for students from all around Morocco to come to this beach town for a couple of weeks in the summer. And so they got Peace Corps volunteers to come and teach English classes, but on a much more kind of casual basis, and then to lead activities in English. So we had like board games and sports competitions, and we went swimming, went to the beach. So it was a really cool opportunity to get to know kids from different places of Morocco, and to spend time with Peace Corps volunteers as well, because most of us were on our own in our sites. Online has been great. It's hard for the non-self-starters and for the procrastinators sometimes. I have often been, and the time difference didn't always help. So my deadlines were usually like 6 a.m. Morocco time. So I didn't pull any all-nighters, but I have stayed up way later than I should have working on assignments, because I thought, I have until tomorrow morning. And it's like, not really. But on the positive side, I have been able to work on this program on 4 different continents. And it's been really flexible. I've been able to get in touch with professors if I've been moving or traveling, or I'm going to be out of Wi-Fi reach for a period of time. Obviously, I've been proactive in communicating that, but everyone that I've worked with so far has been really flexible about adapting to different circumstances, because there's so many of us that live in different parts of the world. And it's also been really cool to get to know other people in a kind of online learning type of way, as much as you can do that. It's been nice to get to know people that I otherwise would have had no connection to. So like I said, I've been connecting with classmates from the program who are based in the Middle East, a couple who are in India, other parts of the world. And it's just amazing to get to know people and see what they're up to. I would say the biggest example of that is a recent class that I took was Peace and Human Security in the Post-Atrocity State. So we studied different conflicts that had happened throughout the world, and then a couple of current ongoing ones, which unfortunately there are many of. But I based my research project for that class on this atrocity that had happened in Morocco. So I was living in Morocco at the time, and I was able to access materials in Arabic, in French, in English also, at institutions and libraries within Morocco. So I was able to get a totally different kind of, I was able to get really good access to all of these resources and materials that I likely would not have had access to in like Diamond Library or in any other place. So that was a real kind of real world example of me thinking, okay, this is what I'm learning, and this is an example of how this situation has affected the people that are around me now. Like, people's parents and grandparents went through this, and I can actually talk to people and interview family members of victims of this atrocity. It was just an amazing kind of connection for me. And since then, I've thought this was really the right choice, obviously. I mean, from the beginning, I thought that, but it was kind of confirmation that I had done the right thing and that this was right for me. I am partnering with the Center for New Americans in Manchester, which is an organization that works with immigrants and refugees on a variety of different ways. I'm partnering with them to try to figure out a way to maximize the kind of benefit of English language programming for immigrants and refugees in Manchester. So I'm not sure what my final project is going to look like. So they've shared some research with me. I've been going through each step of the process in my courses with them. And so that's been a really cool way to kind of tie the two together, bring it into the real world. Again, next term, I'm going to kind of bring it all together with survey results and data analysis, and hopefully work with this organization in Manchester to kind of put it out there as an option for them to implement a program. I'm currently job searching, looking for opportunities, but I'm also applying to the Foreign Service, which is a really long application process. So I'm just about to take the test. I'm hoping that will work out, and then maybe in a year or two, I could work in a consulate or an embassy abroad. So that's one kind of step that I'm considering. I'm also looking into NGO work. I have a contact who's a country director in Iraq that I actually met through the Global Conflict and Human Security program. He was in a class with me a year ago. And so he's the country director for an NGO based in Iraq, and he reached out to me the other day, kind of asked how's it going, and what are you up to? Are you still in Morocco? And I said, actually, I'm looking for a job. Like, do you know anybody? So he's kind of talking to his contacts, and so that's another option that I'm kind of considering as well. Anyone who's interested in just kind of expanding their worldview and their perspective, anyone who has an idea about what they want to do, but they're not quite sure, and they want to hammer it out, or they want to kind of get some more experience, learn some new skills, kind of step out of their comfort zone in a comfortable way, because you can do it from the US, obviously. And I think anyone who wants to make an impact and doesn't really know the kind of steps to get there, I think that the program is really helpful with that, taking me, this like undecided major, from not really knowing what I wanted to do to now having clear options for ways that I can take the skills that I learned in undergrad and my life experience in living and working abroad and apply them to something more serious or a long-term career. So, I mean, I think it could be for anyone, but somebody who's interested in the world around them and the place that they hold in that, and anyone who's trying to kind of broaden their perspective.